Left for dead, after refusing a monster's proposal, until a human changed her fate. The troop carrier growled as Ret Cole drove through the capital of Aridin Prime. Heat rose in waves from the stone. 2 suns burned white in the sky. The streets were almost empty at noon. Shops were shut. Tarps hung loose. Wind pushed dust across the road like ghosts. Cole kept one hand on the wheel. The other hovered near his sidearm. He had learned this rule long ago. Quiet streets lie. His collar was damp. The cooling vents did little. He was 3 years into this posting and still hated the heat. A market row opened ahead. Stalls leaned in like broken teeth. He chose a narrow side street to cut time. The carrier hit a dip. Metal rattled. He tasted grit, then he saw it. Something in the road. Not scrap. Not an animal. A body. He slammed the brakes. The carrier skidded and stopped in a brown cloud. Cole scanned rooftops, windows, doorways. No movement. No chatter. Only the fan whine of his engine and the hiss of dust settling. He stepped out. Sidearm up. Slow steps. Every sense awake. It was a woman. Blue skin. White hair streaked with dirt. Her wrists and ankles were tied with pale cord. The knots were tight and cruel. Dark bruises marked her arms and cheek. The dress she wore was torn and stiff with dust. Cole knelt. He kept the pistol ready, but his voice was soft. "Can you hear me?" Her eyes opened. Violet, sharp even in pain. She flinched when she saw the gun, then froze when he put it away. "I'm cutting the ropes," he said. "Don't move." He drew his knife and cut the cords one by one. The lines had bit deep. Her hands trembled when they came free. He slid his canteen to her lips. She drank, coughed, drank again. "What's your name?" he asked. "Sarah," she whispered. The sound was musical but thin. "You should go, human. If they see you with me." "Who left you here?" Her gaze went to the dust. "Carvos, he leads the Iron Jackals. I refused his marriage." "This is the price," Cole's jaw set. He had heard the name, smugglers, enforcers. "So they beat you, tied you, and left you in the sun." "It is the custom," she said. Her voice shook, but her eyes did not. "I will not be property." He felt a quiet heat rise in his chest. Not anger like fire, something harder. A line in the ground. He stood, lifted her carefully, and carried her to the carrier. "You are making a mistake," she said as he set her in the seat. "They will come. They always come." "They're welcome to try," Cole said. He started the engine. The carrier roared and kicked dust behind them. In the rear mirror, dark shapes stepped from shade. 3, then 5, then more. They did not chase. They only watched him go. The city walls rose ahead. Razor wire, towers with auto turrets. The Terran emblem bright on steel. At the gate, 2 soldiers signaled halt. They saw Sarah. Their faces changed. "Major Cole," the younger one said. "Protocol says medical emergency," Cole snapped. "Open the gate. Sir, we have to process. Open the gate." His voice was iron. The soldier swallowed and waved them through. Inside the base, cool air hit like a tide. Cole drove straight to the med bay. The chief medic met them at the door. Her eyes took in the bruises, the cord marks, the heat stress. "She's Navori," the medic said, already moving. "Close enough to human physiology. She'll respond well." Cole hovered a step back. He watched them clean the cuts. He watched color return to Sarah's lips. He did not know why he could not make himself leave. Boots hammered in the hall. Colonel Rana Briggs appeared, lean and gray-eyed. Her stare was a blade. "You brought an alien inside a secure perimeter," she said. "No salute, no hello." "Explain." "She was left to die in the street," Cole said. "By Carvos Iron Jackals." Briggs's eyes narrowed at the name. "We are here to stabilize, Major, not to judge customs." "Attempted murder is not a custom," he said. Simple, flat, true. A siren cut the air. Red lights pulsed. The base speaker barked, "Perimeter breach, Sector 7, all personnel to stations." Briggs looked at Sarah, then at Cole. "They came fast," she said. Sarah pushed herself up on one elbow. Fear flickered, then hardened. "They are not just jackals," she said. "They are the governor's shadow." Cole's hand settled on the butt of his pistol. The carrier was still ticking outside. Dust still clung to his sleeves. Somewhere beyond the wall, men in black were moving. He felt the line in the ground again. "They won't have her," he said. And the war for one life began. The sirens didn't stop. Red light kept flashing through the glass doors of the medbay. Colonel Briggs barked orders into her comm, her face tight with fury. The sound of boots filled the corridor. Soldiers ran past, rifles ready. Rhett Cole stood beside the bed, his jaw locked. Sarah sat upright now, the faint glow of the scanner reflecting in her violet eyes. "They're coming," she said softly. "The iron jackals move fast when their prey escapes." "Not just jackals," Briggs said, stepping closer. "Intel confirms armored carriers. Heavy-grade weapons. Those belong to planetary forces. The governor's men." Sarah flinched. "Then it's worse than I thought." Cole's mind was already working. "You said Carvos worked for the governor. That true?" "He doesn't work for him," she replied. "He belongs to him. The jackals are the governor's teeth. He feeds them gold and fear." Briggs crossed her arms. "Then we're sitting in the lion's mouth." The walls shook as a distant blast echoed through the base. Dust fell from the ceiling vents. The comm system crackled. "Perimeter breach. Sector 7 down. Hostiles advancing." Cole didn't wait for more. He pulled his rifle from the rack by the door. "If they're inside the city, they'll hit the base within minutes." Briggs glared. "You don't give orders here, Major." He met her stare. "Then give them fast, Colonel, or we'll be ashes before you finish your sentence." Her lips pressed into a hard line, but she nodded. "Defensive positions. Get the outer gate sealed." She pointed at Sarah. "She stays in here. Guard her with your life." The medic secured the door as Cole stepped into the hallway. Smoke drifted from the direction of the eastern wall. The air stank of burning fuel. A medical drone whined overhead, spraying sealant foam on a cracked ceiling. Through the chaos, Cole caught sight of movement in the distance. Dark figures slipping between supply crates, their armor matte and silent. Their helmets reflected nothing. He crouched behind a damaged corridor wall and opened fire. 2 shots. One enemy dropped. The other scattered, returning bursts of blue plasma that splashed harmlessly across reinforced steel. Then the power flickered. Lights died for half a heartbeat before emergency strips lit the hall in blood red. "Command, this is Cole," he shouted into his radio. "They're breaching the lower bay. We need backup." Static hissed. Then Briggs's voice, "Hold your ground. Reinforcements en route." But her voice was faint, jammed. Someone was cutting communications. He gritted his teeth. They were being isolated. In the med bay, Sarah's hands trembled as she pulled the IV from her arm. The medic tried to stop her. "You can't walk yet." "I can," she said, her tone flat. "They won't stop. I need to speak to him, your major. He doesn't understand what they want." Outside, Cole ducked behind a support pillar as another explosion thundered through the compound. Shrapnel whizzed past his ear. A transport truck outside went up in flames. "Come on," he muttered. "Where are you hiding?" A blur of motion behind him, then a sharp hiss. A blade scraped his shoulder armor. He spun, firing point blank. The attacker fell. The impact revealing an insignia burned into the armor's side, a red fang curling around a planetary crest. He frowned. Gang and government, same mark. The door behind him hissed open. Sarah stepped out barefoot, clutching a medbay blanket like a cloak. "What are you doing out here?" He snapped. "They won't stop at this base," she said. "They want the proof I carry. What I saw. What proof?" Before she could answer, another voice cut through their comms. "Major Cole, report." It was Briggs shouting over weapon fire. "They've breached the inner ring. Fall back to the command deck, now." Cole grabbed Sarah's wrist. "Move!" They ran through smoke-filled corridors, past flickering lights and broken consoles. Soldiers shouted. Sirens wailed. The base, once calm and steady, now felt like a dying machine. At the command deck, Briggs stood over a tactical table, her uniform smudged with soot. "The governor's troops are using mercs as cover," she said. "They don't care about casualties. They're here for her." Sarah met her eyes. "I can stop this, but not from inside your walls." Briggs gave a harsh laugh. "You're safer here than anywhere." Sarah shook her head. "Not if you want to live." Cole stepped forward. "Explain." Sarah looked at him, her eyes cold and sharp now. "They think they own this planet. But they fear something hidden in the deserts. My father called it the heart." "The heart?" Briggs frowned. "A defense system older than our cities," Sarah said. "It can shut them down, every weapon, every ship, but only if someone reaches it first." Cole stared at her. The idea sounded insane, but the look in her eyes told him it wasn't. He turned to Briggs. You heard her. We can't hold this base forever. Briggs hesitated. You're suggesting we trust her story and walk into a desert war zone? I'm suggesting we win, Cole said. Another explosion shook the deck. Dust rained down again. The lights flickered once more. Briggs exhaled, sharp and bitter. Fine, you've got one transport. And if this goes south, Cole, it's on you. He nodded. Wouldn't have it any other way. Sarah met his gaze. There was fear in her eyes, but also something stronger, something steady. Then we move now, she said. Outside, the desert wind howled through cracked walls. The base burned behind them. The suns had begun to set, painting the sky red. Rhett Cole climbed into the driver's seat, Sarah beside him. The engine roared to life. Behind them, the iron jackals closed in. Ahead, the dunes waited like sleeping beasts, and somewhere beyond the horizon, the heart of Aridin pulsed, waiting for someone brave or foolish enough to wake it. The desert stretched out like an ocean of copper and fire. The twin suns hung low, spilling red light across the endless dunes. The wind carried fine dust that scraped skin and blurred the horizon. Rhett Cole's troop carrier thundered across the wasteland, its tires cutting deep tracks into the sand. Inside the cab, silence grew heavy. Sarah sat beside him, wrapped in a dark cloak scavenged from the med bay. Her white hair glowed faintly in the light from the dashboard. Her violet eyes stayed fixed on the desert ahead. How far? Cole asked. Farther than you think, she said softly. The canyon hides itself. It only appears when the suns meet on the horizon. He glanced at her. You mean at sunset? Yes, the light breaks through the dust and reveals the entrance. That's why they can't find it during the day. Cole nodded. It sounded like superstition, but he'd learned to stop doubting strange things in this galaxy. He drove faster. The fuel gauge dipped lower. Every bump jarred his ribs. His shoulder throbbed from the knife wound he'd taken at the base. In the mirror, a thin black shape flickered, a speck moving through the haze. He adjusted the optics. 3 small pursuit craft, sleek and fast, flying low to avoid radar. Looks like we've got company, he muttered. Sarah turned. Her face tightened. Iron jackal hunters. They track heat signatures. If they see us, we're dead. Cole grinned grimly. Then let's give them something to see. He slammed the throttle, then twisted the dial on the dashboard. The carrier's exhaust ports flared, venting heat into the open air. To the enemy sensors, it would look like a crash, one final flare before a vehicle died. He cut power, swerving sharply into a dried-out ravine. The engine went silent. Dust swallowed them whole. They waited. Seconds crawled. The whine of engines roared overhead, then faded. Cole exhaled. You're right. They are hunters. She looked at him curiously. You've hunted before. Too many times, he said. But usually it's my job to be the wolf, not the prey. Her lips curved faintly, almost a smile. You're an unusual human. Been told that before, he said, starting the engine again. As they drove deeper into the wasteland, the air grew colder. Long shadows stretched across the sand. The twin suns sank until they touched each other at the edge of the world. And then, as Sarah had promised, the canyon appeared. It rose suddenly from the desert floor, a maze of red stone hidden by illusion and dust storms. From above, it would look like nothing but rock. But up close, narrow passages opened between jagged cliffs wide enough for a vehicle to slip through. Cole stopped the carrier at the entrance. The air felt different here, heavy, old. This is it, Sarah said. The Crimson Canyons. My people hid here after the purges. He stepped out, scanning the cliffs. The wind had gone still, as if the world itself held its breath. You think they're still alive? She nodded. If the heart still beats, they are. He frowned. The heart again. You keep saying that. What exactly is it? Sarah hesitated, her gaze distant. It's what they fear. My father called it the heart of Aridin, an ancient defense built by the first settlers. It can silence every weapon on this world, maybe beyond, but it answers only to Navori blood. Cole raised an eyebrow. That's convenient. She met his look without flinching, and dangerous. The governor's men would rather destroy it than see it in my hands. Before he could reply, a sound echoed from deep inside the canyon, soft, rhythmic, like stone tapping on stone. Then a voice amplified by hidden speakers rang out through the dusk. Identify yourselves. Sarah stepped forward. Sarah Valen of House Veron, she called. Daughter of Envoy Laron, I seek passage. There was a long pause. Then a shimmer of blue light swept over them, scanning their bodies. The air buzzed. Cole's hand went to his pistol, but Sarah held up a hand. "Do not move," she whispered. The light vanished. Silence again. Then figures stepped from the rock. They seemed to appear out of thin air. Tall, lean Navori men and women. Their skin a darker blue than Sarah's. Their armor woven from fibers that gleamed faintly under the setting suns. They carried spears tipped with crackling plasma blades. One approached, eyes narrowed. "Lady Valen," he said slowly. "You live." "I do," she said. "And I bring warning." The warrior's gaze flicked to Cole. "And what is this?" Sarah straightened. "My protector. Without him I would not be standing here." Murmurs rippled through the group. Some frowned. Others lowered their weapons. The leader studied Cole for a moment, then nodded once. "Then come. The council will want to hear your story." They led the two travelers through a narrow passage that opened into a hidden valley. It was breathtaking. Structures carved into cliffs glowing with soft blue light. Gardens of luminous plants lined the walls. Children with bright eyes ran past, curious but unafraid. Sarah stopped and stared, tears glimmering in her eyes. "I thought they were all gone." A gentle voice answered her. "Not gone, Lady Valen. Waiting." An elderly Navori stepped forward, robes flowing like liquid silver. His face bore deep lines, his eyes bright as stars. "Elder Tovan," Sarah whispered, bowing her head. "You bring trouble at your heels, child," he said kindly. "And a human, no less." His eyes turned to Cole. "That is new." Cole gave a small, respectful nod. "Sir, I don't mean to intrude. But your enemies are close behind." Tovan's expression hardened. "We know. The Iron Jackals and the governor's soldiers hunt what they do not understand. But this time the wind shifts." He looked to Sarah. "You carry your father's code, don't you?" "I do," she said. "The proof of Governor Malix's crimes. It's hidden in my neural shard." "Then the time has come," Tovan murmured. "The heart of Eridan must wake again." Cole frowned. "And what does that mean for us?" The elder smiled faintly. "It means, Major Cole, that your world and mine are about to change forever." Outside the canyon in the far-off desert, faint lights flickered like eyes in the dark. The hunters had found their trail, and the real war was just beginning. The crimson canyons were alive with whispers. Wind moved through narrow veins of rock, carrying the hum of ancient energy. For Rhett Cole, it felt like walking through the ribs of a sleeping giant. Sarah Valen moved ahead of him, her cloak brushing the glowing moss that lined the path. The deeper they went, the more the air changed. Cooler, denser, charged with something unseen. Every few steps, faint blue symbols pulsed on the canyon walls, responding to her presence. Cole adjusted the rifle on his shoulder. "So this place, it hides people in magic walls?" Sarah glanced back. "Not magic, memory. The stones remember us. They remember my bloodline." He didn't reply, but something in her voice, quiet, reverent, made him lower his guard. They emerged into a vast open space hidden beneath layers of stone. Towers carved from red rock rose into the air. Suspended bridges connected them like web strands. Thousands of Navori refugees moved through the shadows. Workers, soldiers, children. Not broken survivors, Cole realized, but a quiet army rebuilding its world. At the center of it all stood a chamber of glass and crystal, glowing faintly with inner light. Elder Tovan waited at the entrance, his silver robes reflecting the glow. "This is the sanctuary of the heart," he said. "Your father discovered it long before the governor's coup, Lady Valen. It was meant to protect this world, and now it must again." Sarah's gaze fixed on the chamber. "You said it could disable weapons." "More than that," Tovan replied. "The heart can silence entire fleets. It bends energy itself. Once awakened, nothing hostile can function within its reach." Cole whistled low. "Sounds like a doomsday device with good PR." Tovan gave him a patient smile. "Depends who's holding the key." He motioned for them to follow. Inside, the air shimmered faintly, alive with power. In the center of the chamber sat a structure that resembled a lotus made of metal and crystal petals. It pulsed with dim light as if it had a heartbeat of its own. Cole walked a slow circle around it. "So this thing just wakes up when you touch it?" Tovan shook his head. "It answers only to the blood of the royal line, and it requires a witness, someone who stands beside the air, binds with them in purpose and protection." Sarah turned toward Cole. "That means you." He blinked. "You're kidding." She stepped closer. You saved my life twice. The heart will recognize that bond. It's not about power, Rhett. It's about intent. He hesitated, then nodded slowly. All right. Let's wake your sleeping god. Before the ritual began, Tovan led them through an adjoining chamber lined with carved runes and floating blue orbs. The old man spoke in a soft chant explaining the process. When you give your blood, it will respond instantly. But it will also call out. Every weapon within the governor's network will sense the awakening. His forces will come, Cole smirked. Then we better make it worth their trip. They stood before the heart. Sarah placed her palm on one petal. It glowed brighter. A low vibration filled the chamber deep enough to rattle teeth. Symbols on the walls began to shift and rearrange themselves into flowing patterns. Tovan's voice echoed through the room. When the heart awakens, its field will shield this canyon, but it will also draw the storm. Cole placed his hand on the base of the structure as instructed. The surface was warm like skin. The blue light flared, spilling across the walls and into their veins. He felt a surge of pressure behind his eyes, like the air itself was alive. Sarah gasped as the symbols burned brighter. It's responding faster than I expected. Tovan frowned. It senses the urgency. The world knows it is at war again. The pulse grew stronger, each beat sinking with Sarah's breath. Her hair floated as if caught in water, her skin shimmering under the glow. Cole felt it too, a current connecting them not just through touch but thought. He heard her voice in his mind, "They're coming, Rhett." He answered silently, "Let them." Suddenly, alarms blared from the outer tunnels. A guard rushed in. "Elder!" Contact from the surface. Multiple dropships inbound. The iron jackals and armored units from the governor's army. Tovan's expression hardened. So it begins. Cole drew his weapon. How long until this thing's fully active? Minutes, maybe less, Sarah said. Her voice trembled, not with fear, but strain. Energy rippled through her body, making her limbs shake. I can feel it pulling at me. Then hold on, Cole said, stepping between her and the door. I'll keep them off you. Elder Tovan nodded. Go, human. Protect the air. The heart needs time. And so does hope. Cole gave Sarah one last look, her eyes glowing, her hands pressed to the ancient machine, and then turned toward the tunnels, rifle raised. As he ran through the winding passages, he saw the first explosions bloom at the canyon rim. Ships screamed overhead, dropping soldiers like black seeds into the dust. The hidden valley lit up with fire. And above it all, the first deep hum of the heart grew louder, like thunder under the world, rising from stone and blood and defiance. Cole grinned despite the chaos. All right, he muttered. Let's show these bastards what humans are made of. He dove behind a barricade and fired into the advancing soldiers. The canyon walls answered with echoes. Sarah's light spread through the stone, and for the first time in centuries, the heart of Aridin began to beat again. The first explosion shook the canyon floor. Sand and dust fell from the cliffs like a second storm. Rhett Cole pressed his back against the wall and looked up. Dropships roared overhead, sleek black silhouettes blotting out the red light of dusk. The iron jackals had arrived. He switched his visor to thermal. Dozens of red signatures swarmed across the upper ledges, soldiers moving fast and quiet. Too quiet for men who thought they were unopposed. They knew exactly where to strike. Inside the heart chamber, the glow had grown wild. Blue light poured through cracks in the rock, spilling into every passage like veins awakening after long sleep. The ground vibrated with each pulse. The air buzzed with static, sharp enough to taste. Cole tapped his comm. Sarah, talk to me. How close are we? Her voice came through, faint but steady. It's resisting. The heart hasn't felt a living air in generations. It doesn't know whether to obey or test me. Then pass the test fast, he said. We've got company, lots of it. He peeked around the corner and spotted 3 soldiers in black armor advancing along the ridge. He raised his rifle, exhaled, and fired 3 clean shots. The last one fell before the echo faded. More were coming. He tossed a small sensor disc toward the cliff base. It blinked red, projecting a faint pulse through the dust. The holographic terrain map on his wrist flickered to life. 24 signatures approaching from 3 directions. Encirclement, smart. They wanted to trap him inside. Cole grinned under his breath. Let's see how smart they look dead. He slid a fragmentation charge into the sand, then retreated to a narrow fissure in the wall. As the first wave crossed the sensor's mark, He triggered the detonator. A roar split the air, sandstone and shrapnel swallowed them. Bodies vanished into the dust storm. When the smoke cleared, he was already moving again. Back inside the chamber, Sarah knelt in front of the glowing structure. Sweat beaded on her blue skin. Energy lines crawled up her arms like living tattoos. Her hair floated in invisible wind. Elder Tovin stood nearby, his voice echoing through the ritual chamber. The heart tests worth, not blood. You must show it purpose, not fear. I'm not afraid, she whispered, though her hands trembled. But it's heavy, like it sees everything I am. That is its nature, Tovan said. The heart remembers the wars of old. It will not awaken for vengeance, it awakens for justice. Sarah's eyes blazed brighter. Then it will wake for me. Cole vaulted over a fallen beam, sprinting down a narrow path carved into the canyon wall. He could see flashes of light below, Iron Jackal squads exchanging fire with Navori defenders. The refugees fought fiercely, using old weapons and hidden traps. He dropped beside a wounded soldier, blue-skinned and bleeding. The young man looked up, gasping. Human. The tunnels, they're breaching east side. Cole nodded. Then we make them regret that. He grabbed the soldier's discarded plasma rifle, checked the charge, and ran toward the eastern tunnel. As he reached the bend, he saw them. A full assault team in reinforced armor carrying portable drills and heavy cannons. They were carving through the rock like miners through clay. Cole took a knee, steadied his breath, and fired. The first 3 fell. The rest scattered, firing blind into the shadows. He rolled behind a crate, tossed another charge, and sprinted down the opposite wall. The blast ripped through their formation, echoing through the canyon like thunder. A moment of silence followed. Then static crackled in his comm again. Sarah's voice, louder this time, but strained. Rhett, the heart, it's waking. I can hear it. It's speaking. Speaking, he said, ducking under a collapsing archway. You mean like a machine? No, she whispered. Like a planet remembering its pain. He didn't understand, but he didn't need to. Then keep listening. We'll hold the line. At the heart, Sarah's eyes had turned white. The glow around her filled the chamber like a sunrise. She pressed both hands to the core. The floor trembled, and deep beneath the canyon, something vast began to move. The lotus-shaped device unfolded. Petals of metal and crystal spread apart, releasing a burst of blue light that streaked through the canyon tunnels. It hit every rock, every hidden wire, every weapon in enemy hands. On the cliffs above, the Iron Jackal's rifles sputtered, then died. Their dropship's engines choked mid-flight and fell in flaming spirals. The canyon itself sang, a low, resonant hum that drowned out the sound of war. Cole shielded his eyes as a wave of blue fire rippled past him. It didn't burn. It cleansed. The armor of the soldiers cracked and fell apart like clay. The air shimmered with static discharge. When the light faded, silence took its place. Even the wind had stopped. Cole stood among the ruins, chest heaving, the smell of scorched metal in the air. Above him, the night sky burned with twin moons. Rhett, Sarah's voice came through softly. It's done. He wiped blood from his forehead and looked toward the heart chamber. What did you do? I didn't do anything, she said faintly. The heart did. It remembers who we were meant to be. He jogged back through the cracked tunnels until he reached her. The glow had dimmed now. Sarah was slumped against the pedestal, her skin pale, her breathing slow. Elder Tovin hovered beside her, awe and fear mingling in his eyes. Cole knelt beside her, brushing dust from her face. Hey, you still with me? She smiled weakly. You doubted me. I doubt everyone, he said. Keeps me alive. Her fingers brushed his wrist. Then keep doubting, human. We're not safe yet. The governor won't stop. He'll burn everything. Cole stood listening. Far in the distance, beyond the silent canyons, thunder rolled. Not from the sky, but from engines. Heavy, disciplined, mechanical. He knew that sound. Armored columns. The governor's real army. He looked down at Sarah, then at the glowing heart behind her. Then we make the next move, he said quietly. Before they do, Tovan nodded. The heart has awakened, but its message will spread far. The governor will see it as rebellion. Cole's eyes hardened. Then we give him a reason to fear rebellion. Outside, faint blue arcs of energy climbed the canyon walls, dancing like lightning veins across the sky. The heart of Eridan was alive now, and the world above had already begun to stir. The war wasn't ending. It was only just beginning. Night had fallen, but the sky still glowed blue. The heart of Aridin pulsed beneath the earth like a living sun, its light flickering through cracks in the canyon walls. Every beat seemed to echo through Rhett Cole's chest. The air smelled of ozone and scorched metal. Sarah Valen stood near the heart, still weak but steady now. A faint shimmer of energy danced across her skin, fading and returning like ghost fire. Elder Tovin bowed his head before her. The ancient defense grid lives again. You've done what even your father could not. Sarah's voice was quiet. We've only bought time. Cole was already pacing near the entrance, rifle slung and comm in hand. You're both right. The jackals are down, but the governor's main army is still out there. And they won't play small this time. Static filled his comm again. Then a voice broke through, sharp and familiar. Major Cole, do you copy? Colonel Briggs, he answered, relief flickering for the first time in hours. Still alive up there? Barely, she said. We've got eyes on the capital. Malix's forces are mobilizing every armored division he's got. There's movement in orbit, too. Something big, Cole frowned. How big? Briggs's tone darkened. We intercepted a transmission. The governor just authorized Protocol Ashfall. The canyon went silent. Even the hum of the heart seemed to dim. Sarah turned sharply. No, that can't be real. Cole looked at her. What's Ashfall? It's a scorched earth directive, Sarah said, her voice trembling. The governor's personal failsafe. He would rather destroy Aridin than lose it. Tovin's face paled. He means to detonate the capital's fusion cores. Cole felt his stomach drop. That'll wipe out millions. Briggs spoke again, her voice clipped with urgency. We're already moving, but we can't get near the fusion sectors. Too heavily guarded. Cole, if you're still breathing, we need your help. Fast. Cole looked at Sarah. You said the heart can shut down weapons. Can it stop a meltdown? Not directly, she said. But it can amplify energy frequencies. If we connect it to the capital's power grid, it might cancel the detonation wave. Might, he said. She met his eyes. It's either that or watch the planet burn. Cole didn't hesitate. Then we move, Tovan frowned. The capital is over 200 kilometers away. You'll never reach it by air. Malix controls the skies. Sarah stepped closer to the elder. There's another way. The transit tunnels. My father's maps showed a network under the canyon, built before the first wars. They lead straight to the capital's core district. Tovan hesitated, then nodded slowly. I'll show you the entrance. But once you go, there's no turning back. Cole reloaded his rifle. Wasn't planning to. The tunnels began beneath the heart chamber, a labyrinth of steel and stone veins stretching under the desert. They descended by torchlight, their shadows long and flickering against the walls. For hours they moved in silence, the only sound their boots on old metal grates and the hum of faint energy still pulsing through the earth. Cole checked his scanner. No signals. Either they can't detect us down here, or they're waiting. They'll expect us, Sarah said. The heart's awakening sent out a pulse. Every satellite, every drone. Malix knows someone is coming. Cole gave a small grin. Good. Saves us the trouble of knocking. As they pressed deeper, the tunnel widened into an old transport hub. Rusted rail cars lined the tracks, half buried in sand. Strange murals still clung to the walls. Humans and Navori working side by side, painted in bright colors that had not seen light for decades. Sarah brushed her fingers over one. This was before the fall, before the divide, before greed, Cole muttered. Suddenly a flicker of movement. Cole froze, raising his rifle. Shapes emerged from the shadows. Silent, angular, moving wrong. Not soldiers, drones. Old Terran models, their insignias burned away, reprogrammed with governor code. Their optics glowed red. Stay behind me, he ordered. The first drone lunged. Cole fired 3 rounds. Sparks flew, metal shrieked. The others opened fire with plasma bursts that lit the tunnel like lightning. He dove behind an overturned rail car, returning fire in short bursts. Sarah crouched low, pressing her hands to the floor. The stone under her palms glowed faintly. The heart's energy still flowed through her veins. She whispered a command in the Navori tongue, and the floor itself seemed to tremble. A wave of static rolled through the air. The drones faltered, their sensors flickering. Cole used the moment to shoot out their cores one by one. When the last fell, he lowered his rifle, panting. He turned to her. You could have led with that. She smiled weakly. I'm still learning what it lets me do. Remind me not to piss you off, he said, offering a hand to help her up. Hours later, they reached a massive sealed gate. circular, covered in runes and Terran script alike. Sarah placed her palm against it. Blue light crawled across the metal, scanning her. Access confirmed, a mechanical voice said in the Old Earth dialect. Envoy clearance recognized. The door slid open with a grinding moan. Beyond it lay the underside of the capital, a vast hollow space where metal towers rose from molten light. The fusion cores thrummed deep below, restrained only by aging stabilizers. Cole whistled. Looks like the belly of hell. Sarah pointed toward the largest tower. That's where the governor's control nexus is. If we connect the heart's energy frequency through that, we can stop Ashfall. Cole looked up. And how do we get there? Before she could answer, gunfire erupted from the catwalks above. A dozen soldiers rappelled down, their armor gleaming with the crimson mark of the governor's guard. Cole rolled to cover, shouting, "Guess we're not the only ones with a map." Sarah ducked behind a pillar, shouting over the gunfire, "If I can reach that console, I can open the link." "Go," Cole said, firing back. "I'll keep 'em busy." She sprinted through the maze of machinery, bolts of plasma streaking past her. Cole's rifle barked in rhythmic bursts, dropping enemy after enemy. He moved like water, low, fast, precise. When Sarah reached the console, she slammed her hand on the panel. The heart's glow returned, streaking up her arm, spreading into the circuits. The entire chamber began to shake. Energy surged through the power conduits, racing toward the reactor towers. The red lights flashing Ashfall initiated turned to a dull blue. One by one, the fusion cores stabilized. Cole lowered his rifle, staring in disbelief. She did it. Sarah turned, her hair glowing white in the artificial light. "It's done." The chain reaction. A shot rang out. She froze. A single red streak of plasma tore across her shoulder, spinning her backward. Cole's heart dropped as he turned and saw him. Governor Malix, flanked by his elite guards, standing on the upper bridge. His voice echoed through the chamber. "You think you've won, human? You've only stolen what I can take back." Cole raised his rifle, eyes burning. "Then come take it." Malix's smile was razor thin. "Oh, I intend to." As the last echoes of his words faded, the chamber's alarms blared again, something new this time. A second wave of reactors hidden deep beneath the core had just gone critical. Sarah, clutching her wounded arm, looked at him with wide, terrified eyes. "He's triggering the fallback detonators. The ones outside the grid?" Cole checked his ammo, jaw tight. "Then we end this here." He looked up toward the bridge where the governor waited in the glow of molten fire. And for the first time since the war began, Rhett Cole smiled. Time to show him what humans do when we run out of options. The reactor chamber burned like a sun trapped beneath the earth. Rivers of molten energy flowed between the steel platforms. The roar of the fusion cores drowned out every sound except one, the slow, steady thump of the heart of Aridon, pulsing deep in the canyon miles away, echoing through Sarah Valen's veins. Rhett Cole stood on the lower bridge, rifle raised, face streaked with ash. High above him, Governor Malix looked down from the metal catwalk like a god of smoke and fire. His eyes gleamed red in the molten light. "Do you understand, human?" Malix shouted over the roar. "You've woken a weapon you cannot control. You've doomed us all." Cole's voice came back hard and steady. "Funny. That's what everyone says right before they lose," he fired. The first shot sparked against the railing inches from Malix's hand. The second struck a guard, sending him tumbling into the energy pit below. The chamber erupted in chaos. Malix's troops opened fire. Plasma bolts tore through the air. Cole dove for cover, landing hard on a grated walkway. Heat rose through the soles of his boots. Sarah cried out behind him as a blast grazed her leg, but she stayed upright, blood running down her blue skin. "The detonators," she shouted, pointing to a control node glowing crimson near Malix's platform. "If he activates them, the whole city goes." "Then we take him down before he gets the chance," Cole yelled back. He sprinted across the narrow bridge, gunfire sparking off the rails. A plasma round tore through his shoulder plate, but he kept moving. The world blurred into heat and noise. Every step felt like running through a furnace. Sarah pressed her hands to the floor, calling on the heart's power. Blue light spread from her fingertips across the steel, turning molten cracks cold. She lifted her head, her voice shaking but strong. "Rhett, the heart can reach you through me. Take it." Before he could question her, a surge of energy flashed across the metal and struck his chest. His rifle hummed with new life, glowing with Navori runes that weren't there seconds ago. Cole looked at the weapon, then at her. You just supercharged a Terran gun, she smiled weakly. Make it count. He did. Cole stood, aimed, and fired a single shot. The blast ripped through the air like thunder. Malix's console exploded in a spray of molten metal. The governor stumbled back, his cloak catching fire. But he didn't fall. Instead, he raised one trembling hand and slammed it onto a second control pad hidden in the railing. Every screen in the chamber went red. A synthetic voice filled the air. Secondary detonators armed. Countdown, 90 seconds. Malix laughed, coughing through the smoke. You may stop one heart, soldier, but I have a dozen more. Cole climbed the stairs 2 at a time, his body screaming in pain. The metal burned through his gloves, but he didn't slow down. At the top, he tackled the governor to the ground. They rolled across the catwalk, fists flying, sparks raining from above. Malix was stronger than he looked. Centuries of biomods hardened his skin, made his muscles like wire. He slammed Cole's head against the floor, snarling, "You think humanity has a place here? You're insects playing with stars." Cole spat blood in his face. Yeah? Then consider this pest control. He drew his combat knife and drove it into Malix's chest. The governor gasped, eyes wide, as Cole twisted the blade. That's for everyone you buried. Malix fell back, clutching the wound. The countdown continued to echo. 40 seconds. Cole ripped the key module from Malix's chest plate and tossed it toward Sarah. You know what to do. She caught it, pressing it into the console. The heart is connected. But the override requires a stabilizing link, someone to channel both frequencies. Can the heart survive it? Cole asked. It can, she whispered. I can't, he froze. No, we'll find another way. There isn't time, she said softly. You once told me humans fight for what's right even when it hurts. Let me do the same. He took a step toward her. Sarah, don't. But she was already moving. She placed one hand on the console and one on her heart. Blue light poured from her body, racing along every wire, every conduit, until the entire reactor glowed with the same ancient energy that pulsed beneath the canyons. The fusion cores screamed as the heart's power collided with theirs. Cole shielded his eyes as the light swallowed the chamber. Then, silence. When he opened them again, the red alarms were gone. The heat had faded. Every reactor stood frozen, cooled to dark glass. Sarah was still standing, but barely, her glow dimming like a dying star. He caught her before she fell. Hey, stay with me. You did it. Her eyes fluttered open, faint light still flickering within. Aridin lives. You're damn right it does, he said, voice cracking. Because of you, she smiled faintly. No, Rhett, because of us. Humans and Navori. 2 worlds that finally remembered they're stronger together. Her head rested against his shoulder. Her pulse slowed. The blue light faded completely. For a long moment, Cole just held her, surrounded by the stillness of victory and loss. The air was cool now. Outside, dawn began to break. Then his comm crackled. Colonel Briggs's voice again. Cole, the detonation stopped. City stable. What happened down there? He looked toward the dead reactor core at Sarah's still form and swallowed hard. She happened, he said quietly. Hours later, when Terran and Navori forces reclaimed the capital, they found Cole sitting on the balcony of the governor's tower. The sky above was streaked with sunrise, soft and gold. In his hands he held Sarah's pendant, a shard of the heart still pulsing faintly. When the peacekeepers asked what he intended to do now, he gave the only answer that mattered. I'm staying, he said. Someone has to make sure we don't forget what she died for. And as the suns rose over Aridin Prime, their light spilled across a world reborn, one where 2 species would rebuild together, bound not by fear, but by the courage of a soldier and the sacrifice of a queen. The heart of Aridin pulsed once more in the distance, alive and eternal, a promise carved in light.